Have you ever wondered how quiet destruction feels? It does not announce itself. It creeps in slowly, silently, like a shadow growing larger with the setting sun, and often the people who cast that shadow over your life, they smile while they do it. They hurt you, not by accident, not out of ignorance, but with full awareness. They wanted to watch you fall. They wanted to witness your collapse, your defeat, your undoing. It's a strange cruelty, isn't it? That someone can observe your kindness, your pure intentions, your honest love, and instead of protecting it, they weaponize it. They twist your goodness into their strategy for destruction. And what's worse, they do it while believing they'll get away with it. They threw insults like stones, thinking your spirit would shatter. They whispered lies like poison, believing your reputation would crumble. They betrayed you, walked away, and in their prideful hearts they laughed, thinking you were finished. They expected your downfall to be loud, your collapse to be public, your agony to entertain them. But what they always forget is this: when God's eyes are upon you, their plans carry no final authority. The world may cheer for your failure, they may gather like vultures waiting for your last breath, but heaven doesn't operate by human timelines. And God doesn't forget the quiet tears, the sleepless nights, or the broken pieces scattered by betrayal. Those who hurt you expecting your collapse, they overlooked something far greater than their schemes. They underestimated God. What if I told you that the very hurt they inflicted is now a seed, planted, buried, and growing in ways they cannot control? What if their betrayal is not your burial ground, but theirs? What if the pain they delivered is a sword that will swing back, cutting into the very foundation of their false peace? God is patient, but his justice is precise. The universe has a rhythm, an order, a divine law that no arrogance, no manipulation, no betrayal can outrun. They wanted you to collapse under the weight of their cruelty. But mark these words: it is their life, their peace, their pride that will collapse instead. The pain they handed you, it's being carried now not by you, but by the heavens. Recorded, remembered, and returning. It's building like a storm behind the clouds of your life, and when it breaks, it won't break you. It will break the very structures they built to exalt themselves. To stand still, breathe deeply, watch quietly. The collapse they prepared for you, God is redirecting it. The ground they dug for your failure, their own feet will stumble into it. And in the silence of their downfall, you will rise. Not bitter, not broken, but better, refined by fire, upheld by grace, and shielded by the justice only God can deliver. God saw the hurt they hoped would destroy you, and he's transforming it into the hammer that will break their false pride. There's a dangerous mistake people often make when they set out to hurt someone with pure intentions. They believe kindness is weakness. They believe your heart, soft, patient, forgiving, is an easy target. So they sharpen their words like daggers. They twist the truth like ropes. They stand in circles of gossip, laughing as your name is dragged through the dirt. And as they watch the chaos unfold, they convince themselves it's working, that your world is unraveling, that your spirit is buckling under the pressure, that soon you'll collapse entirely. But what they never calculate is the quiet gaze of heaven. God saw it all. Not a single word, action, or intention escaped his view. The insults they whispered in shadows, he heard them. The betrayals they carried out behind your back, he witnessed every moment. The lies they spread, hoping to fracture your reputation, your relationships, your peace, God stood beside you, collecting every piece of pain, weaving it into something far greater than they could ever imagine. You see, when they tried to destroy you, they unknowingly handed God the very tools that will dismantle their false pride. They thought they were building your destruction. In reality, they were forging their downfall, because pride that rises on the foundation of another's pain is always temporary. It looks strong for a moment. It stands tall, boasts loudly, and walks arrogantly through life, but beneath the surface, cracks are forming, quiet, hidden, undeniable cracks. And those cracks grow. Every sleepless night you endured, every tear they caused, every injustice they justified, those were seeds planted by their own hands, seeds that are now breaking through the surface, not as flowers of peace, but as consequences sharpened by divine justice. The hurt they hoped would destroy you, it's not destroying you at all. It's transforming, reshaping, becoming a hammer in the hands of God. A hammer not for your destruction, but for the collapse of their arrogance. They walked away confident you were finished. But God is patient. His justice is not loud. It does not rush. It moves in silence, builds in secret, and strikes when the moment is perfect. And when that moment arrives, their false pride, the pride that stood tall upon the ruins of your suffering, will crumble like sand. They believed your hurt was the end of your story. But God always writes the final chapter, and that chapter begins when their own pride meets the consequences of their cruelty. Every betrayal they thought would silence you is becoming the echo that haunts their peace. There's a unique arrogance in betrayal, the belief that once they hurt you, once they walk away, your voice disappears, that your worth shrinks, your spirit dies, your name fades. They betray your trust, your love, your loyalty, and then carry on as if they've won. They expect silence, they expect collapse, but betrayal carries a weight they cannot escape. It may feel victorious in the moment, but it plants seeds they never intended to harvest. When they betrayed you, they weren't just breaking your heart, they were building their own regrets. Because betrayal doesn't disappear, it lingers, it haunts, it returns when they least expect it. You may have wept quietly, suffered silently, but your silence isn't emptiness, it's preparation. God takes that silence and turns it into an echo, a sound that follows them into every corner of their lives. The relationships they chased, the peace they sought, the future they envisioned, that echo follows them. They hear it in quiet moments, the reminder of what they did, who they hurt, how they built their false happiness on your suffering. They thought betrayal silenced you, but God transformed it into a voice that grows louder in their soul. And the louder it gets, the more impossible peace becomes. They cannot outrun the past. They cannot drown the echo. It lives with them, around them, within them, until the very betrayal they thought would destroy you becomes the sound that haunts their existence and breaks the illusion of their peace. Your silent suffering is the soil where God is planting unshakable strength. Suffering, especially the kind that's inflicted by others, has a way of stripping you bare. It leaves you exposed, your heart aching, your mind questioning, your soul weary. And yet, amid the pain, there's a silence, a quiet season where everything feels still, but not in peace, in uncertainty, in sorrow, in waiting. That's the season they hoped would break you. They believed your suffering would empty you, would hollow you out, would leave nothing behind but ruins. But suffering, when placed in the hands of God, is never wasted. It becomes soil, sacred ground for transformation. Your tears, though invisible to them, have watered that soil. Your silent endurance has tilled it. Your broken prayers, your unseen battles, your weary steps, they have all prepared the ground for something far greater than you or your enemies could foresee. You see, unshakable strength isn't born in comfort. It's not found on easy roads. It grows in hidden places, in the midnight hours where no one applauds, where no one notices, where pain becomes your only companion. That's where God works. He steps into the soil of suffering, not to remove the pain instantly, but to plant within you the strength they tried to strip away. And while they believe you're collapsing, something entirely different is happening beneath the surface. Roots are forming, deep, strong, resilient roots. You may feel fragile on the outside, but underground, within your spirit, a foundation is being laid that cannot be shaken. They see weakness, but God is building power, a strength not based on appearances, but on endurance, on faith, on divine preparation. It's the same principle you see in nature. The tallest trees, the strongest oaks, they don't grow overnight. They spend seasons buried, hidden, silent. But when the time is right, they rise, unmoved by storms, untouched by the opinions of others, standing tall in their strength. That's what God is doing with you. The suffering they hoped would collapse you is becoming the soil where your future strength is rooted, and when you rise, they'll realize they didn't destroy you. They unknowingly made you unstoppable. Their cruel intentions are not forgotten. Heaven keeps record and justice never sleeps. There's a dangerous illusion people hold when they hurt others in secret. They believe that if no one speaks up, if no one exposes them, if their actions stay hidden, then their cruelty disappears into the shadows, untouched, unchallenged, unpunished. But the kingdom of heaven operates by a different system entirely. Time may pass, lips may stay sealed, but God forgets nothing. His justice isn't distracted. God forgets nothing. His justice isn't distracted. His memory never fades. The cruel intentions they harbored toward you, their schemes, their betrayals, their lies, are not lost in the noise of this world. They are written, recorded, and preserved by a justice higher than human understanding. And while they walk with false confidence, believing they've escaped accountability, heaven prepares a response, a reckoning crafted with divine precision. Justice may not be immediate, it may not arrive in the form they expect, but justice never sleeps. It does not slumber while the innocent suffer. It moves quietly, calculating, weaving together the threads of consequence in ways they cannot outrun. Their actions planted seeds, not of prosperity, but of destruction. Seeds that grow in silence, hidden from view, until the day they break the surface and bear the fruit of their own cruelty. You see, when they hurt you, they believed time was their shield, but time bends to the will of God. And when the clock strikes the hour of justice, no lie, no manipulation, no earthly power will shield them from the consequences written into their own story. Heaven never sleeps, and neither does the justice reserved for those who harm the pure. The collapse they plotted for your life is returning, like a storm prepared by divine timing. There is an undeniable arrogance in the hearts of those who plot the downfall of others. They map every detail. They whisper plans behind closed doors. They align their words and actions like pieces of a game, believing they control the board. Their confidence grows with every step they take to hurt you. But they never consider that life itself bends to the will of God. What they plot with precision is never outside his sight, and every storm they hope to send your way is being quietly redirected to them. When they schemed for your collapse, they imagined an ending. A point in your life where you would break, your strength would evaporate, your worth would be questioned. But what they missed is that God does not operate on human blueprints. He lets them build their illusions, lets them believe their plans are working, lets them walk deeper into their pride. And then, at the moment they least expect it, the storm they designed for you circles back. This storm isn't chaos born of coincidence. It is justice, crafted with divine timing. It doesn't rush, because real justice never hurries. It waits. It gathers strength. It observes. And as it builds, their false peace continues. They laugh. They live as if their betrayal evaporated into the air. But beneath their feet, the ground is cracking. Around their life, the winds are gathering. The very collapse they plotted is being prepared not for you, but for them. The storm will not announce itself early. It arrives when their pride is at its highest, when they are convinced they've escaped consequence, when they have forgotten the pain they sowed into the lives of others. And when that storm hits, it doesn't merely shake their world, it unravels it. They thought your life would collapse under the weight of their cruelty. But God is turning that weight around. The storm they crafted for your destruction is now the storm destined for their awakening. The storm that reminds them no one escapes the consequences of the hurt they deliberately place upon another's life. Your endurance has been seen, their arrogance has been measured, it cannot last. In moments of betrayal and cruelty, it often feels like the arrogant walk freely, untouched, their pride growing taller by the day. They boast, they manipulate, they weave lies into their reputation. And as you sit quietly with your hurt, it appears they've won. They've taken from you, they've wounded your spirit, they've bruised your trust. But God is not blind, and heaven is not silent. Your endurance, the tears no one saw, the sleepless nights, the whispered prayers of confusion and sorrow, none of it went unnoticed. It may feel like your suffering slipped through the cracks of life, lost and forgotten, but heaven has recorded every moment. And that endurance, it's more powerful than you realize. For every time you chose to keep standing, to keep breathing, to keep hoping when the world around you collapsed, God was watching, and in the watching, He was preparing something the arrogant never accounted for. Because while your endurance grows, their arrogance is weighed. It is measured, counted, and limited. They believe it is endless, that their pride will shield them, that their status will protect them, that the consequences will never arrive. But arrogance is temporary by design. It floats high for a season, but its foundation is hollow. And the higher they rise on false pride, the harder they fall when the truth arrives. God allows seasons of endurance not to punish the innocent, but to prepare the stage for justice. And when that moment comes, their arrogance crumbles, their confidence cracks, their schemes unravel. The endurance you showed will be the reason you stand strong, while their pride becomes the rubble beneath their own feet. The pain they gave you is not your ending, it's the beginning of their reckoning and your rising. It's remarkable how people so easily forget that pain is not the end of the story. When they hurt you, whether through betrayal, lies, manipulation, or rejection, they convinced themselves it was your final chapter. They thought the wound they left would define your destiny, that the sorrow they carved into your heart would close every door in your life. They saw your tears and assumed they had won. But what they failed to understand is that pain in the hands of God is not a grave. It's a doorway. The moment they hurt you, they believed they were writing your collapse. But what they could not see What their arrogance blinded them to is that God was still holding the pen. And when God authors a story, pain becomes transformation, suffering becomes the soil for strength, heartbreak becomes the furnace where unshakable resilience is forged. You see, the pain they gave you wasn't meant to bury you. It was meant to awaken something they could never destroy. The hidden strength God placed inside of you. Yes, you wept. Yes, you broke. But even in that breaking, something deeper was being born. You were being reshaped, refined, realigned, not for collapse, but for rising. And while they celebrated your suffering, while they convinced themselves your downfall was secured, heaven was preparing a different ending altogether. Because the pain they gave you carries a double consequence. It refines the innocent and it returns to the guilty. They didn't just hand you pain, they planted seeds of their own reckoning. The universe, under God's law, is not blind to cause and effect. Every action echoes. Every betrayal they committed set a consequence in motion. Every tear they caused, every sleepless night they triggered, every ounce of suffering they poured into your life. It all builds, it all counts, and it all circles back. And here's the irony. They believed the pain was your destruction, but in truth it was their mirror. It reflects their character, their intentions, their cruelty, and that reflection follows them. They may smile on the outside, they may walk proudly in public, but within them, the weight grows. Guilt, regret, fear, the realization, whether today, tomorrow, or years from now, that the pain they inflicted did not disappear. It multiplied, it evolved, and now it waits to collapse the very life they tried to elevate on your suffering. But you are not finished. You are not buried beneath their betrayal. You are not stuck in the sorrow they intended to chain you to. The pain they gave you, under God's divine design, is becoming the reason you rise. It may be slow, it may be quiet, but piece by piece, strength returns. Hope rebuilds, faith revives, and while their life unravels under the weight of their own actions, you ascend. Not bitter, but wiser. Not broken, but stronger. Not defeated, but destined. The pain they gave you is not your ending. It's their beginning of consequence. It's your beginning of rising, becoming, overcoming. They wrote your downfall in ink of betrayal, but God rewrote your future in strength, justice, and unshakable grace. So hear me clearly. The ones who hurt you, the ones who walked away with pride, the ones who laughed while you suffered, they never held the final say. They wanted you to collapse, to disappear beneath the weight of the pain they delivered so easily. But heaven never sleeps. God never forgets. Every hidden tear you cried, He saw. Every moment of weakness, He stood beside you. And while they celebrated your suffering, while they convinced themselves you were finished, the divine was quietly orchestrating a story they never expected. The pain they gave you, it became your foundation. The betrayal they offered, it sharpened your discernment. The suffering they caused, it planted the seeds of your resilience. But for them, the hurt they handed you, the cruelty they justified, the false peace they built upon your heartbreak, it is collapsing. Quietly, powerfully, inevitably. Their plans are folding beneath the weight of their own pride. Their false confidence is cracking under the pressure of divine justice. And when the storm they created finally returns home, they will understand the pain they hoped would collapse your life has become the storm that collapses theirs instead. You are still standing. You are still breathing. You are still becoming everything God designed you to be, stronger, wiser, unshakable. And their downfall? It's written not by your hands, but by the justice of heaven itself. Let them watch, let them wonder, let them feel the echo of what they thought was forgotten, because you didn't collapse. But they will.